Jason, I challenge you as an actor. If you've never played hurling,
No.
you can't do it. And we had a few people who played a little bit of hurling and sent in tapes to us, and it is one of those things you want to be playing from the cradle. So he had that. So the kids thing was easy. The dog thing, we wrote a movie with a very prominent part for a dog, having never worked with a dog before, and as we always joke, we just kept saying, they've made a load of Lassie movies. It's got to be possible. Someone will tell us how to do it. And then we had to go to the UK. There was the company in Ireland that do animals. So we don't really have a dog that can do this at the moment. So we went to the UK and they said to us, we've only one dog that can make this movie because it's so complex. There's so much in it. And he's a dog that he's trained by the company who trained them. She gets Battersea Dogs Home rescue dogs, trains them, and then gives them to a family. So he lives as a family dog. He's a pet, and he heads off and makes movies every now and then. So it's really cool. And the one thing, Ashley, who came over to work with him, has always said to us, every time he goes and picks him up for a movie, he's sitting on the couch, he's living his best life, and he's thinking, there's no way he's going to be able to make a movie again. It's gone from him now. And he hits set, and it's just something switches on. And the actors joke that he hits his mark better than loads of actors do. So we kind of we'd have a list of things we'd like him to do this, or we'd like him to be able to do that. And we worked with Ashley, who was over and kind of going, oh yeah, what about this? Or he could do this. And things like walking with, like just a kind of a set of stuff that he can do and that we could work with to, what our requirements were. But we really worked closely with Ashley, and it was really good fun. Like we do it, we were kind of coming out going, we can't make another dog movie straight away, can we? Because we enjoyed it so much.
What is his name?
Oh, Barley, sorry, it's Barley. Yeah, Barley.
Okay, Barley's a bit of a star.
Barley's a bit of a star. We were a little bit upset because people started sending us around Christmas. He was in a Christmas movie on Netflix with Brooke Shields, and we were kind of going, why he's not supposed to be doing anything else? It's just ours.
Exclusive contract.
He's really good.
Barley, amazing. Well, why don't we open it up then? Does anyone else have any questions for the filmmakers? Yeah.
If you don't read the synopsis, the movie is made in Ireland, or you just say came late 5 or some minutes, how, if any, Irishness is represented? Because when you watch the movie and you don't know the language, you don't see any Irish representation, no flags, no anything. I mean, of course, you don't know the language. It's difficult to see. Is it Ireland and maybe some Scandinavian country? The language may be similar, but it's not. So is it any Irishness that is represented in this film?
Well, the entire film is shot in a rural Irish community in Waterford, and it's an Irish-speaking area of Ireland. So the language they speak is the language of the area. So we deliberately chose to do that so that it would be very authentic to Irishness, in that it's in that particular area. They're speaking the particular dialect of that area, and it's made under a cultural scheme, which is to promote Irish language feature films and to give that sense of Irishness that maybe people haven't seen so much of. A lot of more international movies are shot in Ireland, maybe not so many that come from small communities. So that was the whole point of the cultural scheme. So the Irishness you see in the film is very much the reality of rural Ireland now. That's the church, the school that you see, the street that you see, everywhere in the film is the real location. It's a real Irish village.
I suppose that thing for us as well, it's set now. It's a contemporary movie, and Ireland is people drive Teslas, and it's a very modern country. So we kind of wanted to reflect that. That's what Ireland is like. The house is very typically a kind of 70s bungalow, but it's not necessarily something that would scream Ireland, even though I think if you're Irish, a lot of us grew up in those kind of houses in the 70s, 80s in Ireland. And then I guess hurling was a very conscious choice. We wanted to pick we have two major national sports, and it's hurling and football. And hurling for us, I think, always feels so Irish. It's played a little bit around the world, but always by Irish communities, or it's brought there by Irish communities. It's very much an Irish sport. So the hurling was definitely a big Irish signature for us as well.
The only thing that wasn't Irish was the weather. How did you control?
Jason's always like that in Ireland. Come on.
You have a magical dog, but you also have magical powers over the weather.
That kind of was crazy. I mean, it's called, the area in Ireland is called the sunny southeast, which is almost like a joke at home because everyone goes, it's sunny compared to the west coast. So and we were sort of selfishly going at a stage, we wouldn't mind one day of very heavy rain just for that Irish feel, but to get that for 4 weeks, which is I think we had 2 days of rain, was amazing. Because it just everywhere.
Was that the summer of 2021?
2019.
2019.
Yeah, 2019. We this was shot pre-COVID, and COVID is what delayed. Then we were kind of finished, kind of close to finish editing March 2020, and then the world changed, and we just thought we will wait until we get to show it.
Well done for waiting.
Yeah. I think it's for this was worth it.
Yeah, excellent. Anyone else have any more questions? Yeah.
Once the movie has run its course, how can I see it again? Because I really loved it, and I mean, we don't have something where we can see it again.
I mean, I would say at home it was in cinemas. At home it was in cinemas, and then ended up on all platforms. To stream. iTunes, Amazon, and all those to buy. So I presume what the plan from our distributor here is to do theatrical, and then sort of talk to streamers or VOD. So it definitely will. That will happen after. I think it's going to be 60 days before any of that happens, because it's getting a 60-day run in cinemas here. And I think distributors always like to, if they can, keep cinemas first and then that come later. So, but it will definitely be, in a couple of months, it will be available as it is at home. It'll definitely start appearing in, iTunes to buy and rent and things like that, definitely.
So it would probably be on Amazon or iTunes.
iTunes, yeah, by probably like end of May, start of June, I would say, would be my guess. That's when that'll start.
But also you'd have a part to play in that. Tell all your friends, and
Yeah.
honestly, good word of mouth is where these things start.
It was beautifully made, and the dog was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Everybody was.
But I would echo what Jason's saying. It definitely makes a big difference. The word of mouth for something like this, because you don't have you can't put huge billboards up. So word of mouth is great for us. Yeah,
Yeah.
really
Social media. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's such a beautifully made movie, and somehow I gently disagreed with the gentleman over here. I felt it had an Irish soul. I grew up here in the States, and to me it just screamed Irish from the first moment. Beautiful scenery. It's like a picture postcard wants to make me go to Ireland.
Yeah, it's funny. The people of Waterford were very grateful and said, "Oh, thanks for making that." It was the time of year. It was very lush, and as you're saying, it's set in a real place.
And another thing that you mentioned about the dog, a lot of people don't know from American TV, the Frasier show, the original that had the dog. That dog was a stray. The trainer was selecting him, or went somewhere where there were dogs in a pound situation, and the dog selected him. Came over.
Wow.
And, started barking at him. You have to choose me.
Yeah, that's
So
wow, isn't it?
what you said is very true.
But it's just amazing that a dog can be that unique. Like Barley is a very unique dog. Like they just said,
Lovely dog.
there's one dog that can do it, and we had kind of gone into it with all these ideas of we want a dog that is believable, that looks like it could be somebody's husband who's returned. We had all these ideas in our head of exactly what kind of dog we might want, and this was the dog. Like you're saying, he chose us, really. Yeah.
And what we found interesting was we just used one dog. We kind of wondered, well, do you have multiple dogs?
Yeah, that's unusual. Usually you work with more than one animal.
And Jill, who trains him, said he's your second lead. You don't have doubles for your actor. He's an actor. He'll be fine. He's in good shape. They're very fit. Something goes wrong with your actor, that happens, and it's the same with the dog. Yeah. So she said straight away, no, you cast he's an actor. Canine actor.
Amazing. There was another question. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a question, but I just wanted to comment. Well, first of all, there were a lot of people crying here. And just how touching it is, the interaction with the dog, and how important the relationship is between humans and dogs. And I think picking that particular animal rather than cats.
We both.
It's a different thing, and I recently got a rescue dog, and it made a big difference in my life. So it's just, you guys did, it's just wonderful. Just
Yeah, and I think
and
it's,
magical.
I think something Ireland is in a way later than America. I think America and England and France and places, we've always had that kind of working dog relationship. We're very rural up to recently, and dogs were on the farm or they did work, and we weren't sentimental. And I think we've started to understand far more what animals bring to us, and dogs in particular. So I think it's Ireland has changed in that way in the last few years, and it's for the better, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, and when we were writing, we were very much thinking about that relationship. That sometimes, especially in a scenario where somebody is grieving and it's hard for people to break through, sometimes that relationship with an animal can just work in a way that a relationship with people is harder. So I mean, that's why we really, and it is that thing of we try to get to where they're looking into each other's faces, because you do that. If you have a dog, you're looking into their eyes and you're reading their thoughts, and or at least you think you are getting something back. So that was a really important part of the whole story for us.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what you're working on now in Irish.
Sally and Sparky. I want the sequel.
We are working on a couple of scripts. One of them may be Irish language, because we just had such fun making this, and it was such a pleasure to do something in the Irish language and to make an Irish language feature. Also, there's a bit of a wave at the moment in Ireland with Irish language features. It's kind of something that should have happened maybe a long time ago. It hasn't. It was a bit of the picture that was missing. I mean, we make lots of different, TV and movies in Ireland, but we're just missing that bit of the jigsaw. So we are working on a few scripts. One of them is a little bit in the same vein as this. There's another script that we're working on with another writer, and controversially, it has a cat.
I was just gonna say.
It's very heavily featured. Breaking news, controversial. But so there will be more coming in the same vein.
Actually, to that, I was wondering. So, like the Irish language stuff, was the financing for that straightforward? Did making an Irish language film help or make it harder to make?
Yeah, so it was our national broadcaster, TG4 or TG Cahir, who decided they wanted the Irish language in front of international audiences. They really wanted to win an Oscar and got really close on Colin Kuhn, the Quaker. So when that came up, we really targeted it, because I guess Irish filmmakers have looked, say, to Denmark for a lot of years, or to Scandinavia, and thought, why can't we have that little kind of movement? But we would have always been making films in English, and we're up against America, and we're up against the UK and Australia and all that, so it's hard to break out and have an identity, and suddenly these feel like they have an identity. They're fully funded by the broadcaster and Screen Ireland, and so it's really helped. It's made it, and they were quick to get to screen. We were writing this 6 weeks writing in March, and we were filming in February, and we were filming by May. It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. The best experiences.
Amazing.
I wanted to ask something else. How old is the dog, and with the language, being from the UK, and then
His Irish was terrible.
language,
Quite
That's
a
terrible.
barrier.
that worked out?
I mean, I'm not sure Jill knew exactly. She was saying about the same age, maybe more towards 3 by the time we were filming, but a young dog. And then the language created difficulty for our sound editor, who had to get rid of lots of stop, hold, do, so there would have been a lot of stuff he can certainly do without verbal cues, but there would be a lot of, and all his cues would be in English, obviously, he would have learned those, so there would be, his handler off screen communicating with him in English. He was committed to learning some Irish, and then he realized, our handler, he was very excited about it. And then he went, it's a really difficult language.
Although the Irish for stop is stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyone else who hasn't asked a question yet? Yes.
Could you say a little bit about how you selected the adult actors?
I'll start with Bridge, who our lead, and was really nice. We wrote for her. So Bridge is a native Irish speaker from the west of Ireland, and she is one of our kind of leading theatre actresses and a very experienced screen actress. So when we were writing it, we even had early storyboards done, and it was of drawings of Bridge. So that was kind of wonderful to write with her in mind. and then we cast a mix of local kind of experience. There's a small enough pool of Irish speaking actors, so we would have auditioned, and then we got the local cast. And you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we went to, I mean, part of the choice of location was the fact that it's an area that's really got a rich kind of cultural life. So there's a lot of amateur dramatics, a lot of people doing stuff, writing, playing music. You know, it's a lively cultural place. And we went down and we did casting. We found Ruan, who plays the little boy Mike.
He's terrific.
Yeah, and he's great. And then we also found, you know, the people in the choir.
Your supporting cast was excellent. All those smaller roles were so well played.
But it was fantastic. We couldn't have done all those smaller roles to that extent without a brilliant community buy-in. I mean, everybody just loved the experience of, oh, here it comes, let's all make a movie. It wasn't just, you know, so there were people who had never done anything like it before and just went for it and just enjoyed that. And I must say, I have to say, for the more experienced actors, they were really generous about that, because it's not always easy, you know, working with somebody who's never been on screen before. You know, you'd be nervous, you're in scenes with people, but there was a real trust and a really great bond between people, and the community did help, you know, in that we were able to make those supporting roles, those characters really mean something. That's hard to do on a small budget.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you started, or before you started
That
making
is the
the
last
film,
question now, so go ahead.
before you started making the film, was something on your mind? I believe you saw it, you know, Paul Bernson, Ohazar Baltazar, about the donkey. Paul Bernson, French director.
Oh yes.
This film, Ohazar Baltazar, about the donkey who is everything. I mean, who is a.
It wasn't on a mind. Now, there's a few things that people have mentioned to us that's in the same kind of area.
It's not a parallel, but something which you might come across.
Yes, so there's a few kind of stories in the same area. Like somebody was talking earlier about a story in Irish about a person who believes a seal on the west. You know, a seal embodies, you know, their father, and so you do have this. It's not that it's like nobody's ever thought of an animal embodying a human or a spirit before, or so. But those things weren't really playing in our mind. We really had thought about the robin coming into the garden after somebody passing away, and that was the real germ of it. And we worked kind of from there, to be honest. So people have mentioned things subsequently, which we're kind of glad we didn't know about, really.
Yeah, but it's really rich mythological stuff, and there's something that happens at the end of that final scene where it all just drops into place, and you just realize, oh, this is bigger than you once thought. At first, it appears like a small world and a small thing that's happening just to her, and then by the end you realize this has universal appeal and appeals to all of us who have loved and lost. So thank you so much, Peter and Rachel. That was fantastic. Thanks for staying on, guys, and spread the word.